bullshit. You're supposed to stay in the station. You gotta be kidding me. Hey, I can hear you down there. Hey, come get us. I found you. Shouldn't have to flash this stupid light in your faces for it to count.
You know the rules, Az.
Fine. Hurry up. Come on, Az.
Hey, Az, you okay?
Screw this!
Az!
Screw you guys!
Az, what's going on?
You know it's hard for me to get down there.
I'm sorry, Az. We'll start over, all right? I'll be at this time. Get ready to act.
Have fun getting out.
Hey! Az! Az, open the door. Get back here and open this door. Az!
This week on page 180, we go into the spoilerverse to give you all the discussion on the penguin that you deserve. And ladies and gentlemen, here's the tap dance on my grave, like Ginger fucking Rogers. Joining me to discuss it all, it is the one, the only. It's Kev King. Welcome back to page 180, Kev King. Kev, so excited to be discussing this with you. Oh my God, it has been like, we both been big on this. We like this show, okay? We're going to get it out of the way. We like this show. So this will be a celebration. But before we get to celebrating it, I think there's something very important we need to do up front in the show. And more just get out of our systems. We just get the impressions out of our systems now, like, and so we're not annoying everyone dying to do Colin Farrell impressions. Like, I don't know.
Joy, I want to thank you for having me on this prestigious podcast of yours. I just really excited now to talk about Penguin. Thanks very much for having me.
Thing with Penguin you got to do, right? You got to talk like you out of your fucking mind. You got to throw in occasional, like you're just doing a generic American accent, but then you got to throw in a word that actually doesn't sound like anyone would say that word in that way. But Colin Farrell is saying
you gotta
it in
also
that
do
way.
A couple little pauses in between your words.
Yeah, and you gotta throw people off, kid. You gotta throw people off, and then what you gotta do is you gotta do a laugh out of nowhere, but then stop and be really intense. I'm addicted to it.
For the last 2 months, that's all we've done in work on a Tuesday. It's
just find excuses to say the word deserve. I swear to God, when the kids, when they had the kid version of Oz in this, and he comes out, he's like, I just want to give you the life you deserve. I'm like, oh my God, he's got it. He's got it. They literally, his audition tape was, he had like a 1-word script. Deserve. It's like, say it however you want, kid. And the first kid that came in, like, deserve. I'm like, yeah, sign him up. He's done. He's done. He's got it. I love all of this though. Like, what I love about this series is how memeable it all is. Like, you know, like even the Batman, like from Matt Reeves, I can't watch that now. Do you know what I've started to do? I've started to like freestyle Batman stuff in like the style of Kurt Cobain singing that. And like, again, I literally just like, I don't have it planned for this or anything, but like, I'll just do it off the top of my head. I'll give you an example. If you want to have a go, you can have a go. It's just like, Batman in Gotham, he's doing Batman-y things. And then you've got Barry Keoghan, randomly the Joker. But what I love is I do have a chorus to this. And then it's like, then this is it sounds a little creepy, but like, it's also, it just fits the amount of syllables. Like, so it's Zoe Kravitz's face, okay? You gotta go, Zoe Kravitz's face, but then you gotta go, I fucking love this. I'm all about it. I'm obsessed. Like, it's a great TV show, but the fucking memes as well. Like, it's fucking got everything we want, Kev. This
Yeah.
is amazing. Kev, we've both been big into this. We're going to talk about the finale, and guys, it's into the spoilerverse. We're going to be talking with spoilers. So don't at us. If you haven't watched it, watch all of the Penguin. We're going to be talking about the Batman as well. We may make some allusions to comic book stories, but we're not like the biggest comic book people, so we're not going to be getting really in depth. Like if you want to go read the comics for yourself. So but yeah, we're going to talk with spoilers, but we're going to get to the finale and kind of give it its own section in this. But I want to get your thoughts on the series up to the finale. So as you were coming into this week, how are you kind of vibing with this, and kind of give us some context on where the Penguin has been sitting for you? Is this something that you're just enjoying the accents, or is this something like fucking more?
This is kind of like the way what I was talking about with Agatha last week a little bit, where you can tell they really cared about a story, they cared about an arc, and they cared about characters, and that's all you need for a good TV show. It's just good writing, good characters, and we're invested. And this show, no matter who it went to, be it Penguin, be it Vic, be it Sofia, I didn't care where we were in the story. I was just enjoying every moment, or even all the stuff with his mom as well. And it was acted superbly. It was so good. This was an 8-hour movie, and I didn't want it to end. Is my thoughts basically on the entire series.
I remember we spoke about this when we were kind of getting ready for the Penguin. We did a catch up on the TV shows we were watching, and we're getting ready for Penguin and Agatha, and we're both like, yeah, we'll give them a watch, it should be fine. And we end up loving both of them, and slightly obsessed with both of them as well. And for me, this reminds me of a show that we also covered last year in terms of the scale of what it's done. Is that this show for me is kind of this year's version of The Last of Us. It's HBO taking a genre story that we have kind of lowered expectations for. Like, we're okay if we get, like, if it's a comic book story or a genre story, we love that kind of story anyway. We're big nerds. But so we'll take something that's just loosely entertaining, but it's HBO going, no, we're going to fucking make this an amazing fucking show, and we're going to give it the full HBO glitz. And I never knew, and I think this is what, like, because the first time I watched the Batman, and I've rewatched it since, and I always sing about Zoe Kravitz's face as well. But the first time I watched the Batman, I didn't fully get it because I just wasn't ready for that style of story. I wasn't ready for that, but I get it now. I am all about Matt Reeves' version of Gotham, to the point that it may be my favorite ever version of Gotham, including Christopher Nolan's. Now,
including animated series.
Maybe.
Wow.
And I love, there's a lot of, like, you've got the animated series. We just talked about Cape Crusader as well, and that's another Matt Reeves thing, but it's very different tonally. It's much more kind of a follow from the animated series. I also love shows that don't get talked enough about, like Gotham. I thought really underrated show, and really did well out of the characters and the concept. But I never knew that what I needed was, like, from the Gotham world, was a crossover between Sopranos and The Wire. Like, I heard a great comparison on a podcast that I listened to that talks about these kind of stories, that says, we all, the second we saw it, we're like, Colin Farrell is Tony Soprano. Yeah, I get it. He's even got the crazy mom. That's so this is the Sopranos, but it's the Penguin as Tony. But also I heard a great podcast talk about how Penguin is in the Sopranos, but Vic is very much in The Wire. You know what I mean? And they blend that kind of HBO style of storytelling and turn this into a gangster crime thriller. And while I will always have nostalgia for the Michael Keaton era and Christopher Nolan, obviously the great things with the movies, I'm not saying these are better. I don't necessarily, I haven't got the full picture to be able to contextualize it. It's not fair to compare one movie and one TV series to a full trilogy that Christopher Nolan did. But I feel like this flavor is my favorite flavor of Gotham storytelling. What I loved about this series so far was it is a limited series. A limited series, as frustrating as they can be because we want more at the end of it, they are great because they can go at their own pace. Like, think about this. In episode 3 of this series, and it was only when I did my rewatch in the run up to recording this show that I realized this. That was when Oz turned on Sofia and the battle lines were fully drawn. In the 3rd episode, I'm like, in my head, I had it mentally done that was far and deep into it. I felt like when that happened, I knew these characters, but I
Yeah.
didn't actually get any of their origin stories up to that point. But the show felt like it had already covered so much ground. And then it was just the entire show was an absolute sprint to the finish, but also, like you said, full to the brim with genuinely great, meaningful character work and stakes, but also resolutions that never felt like it drifted into the worst impulses of a comic book story. It all felt real. And it all stayed true to the characters and brought it back to the characters. And it is just a massive achievement. Like, it is just an absolute, I don't want to say television masterpiece. I don't know if I'm saying that this is like The Sopranos, The Wire. I don't know if it's saying that it's up there in quality, but I fucking love these 8 episodes. Of the 8, we'll maybe exclude the finale and we'll give that its own kind of time.
Mm.
What episode really stood out to you? What was the point? What was the episode that you watched this and you're like, this is something different. This is something real, and this is something that's not just your average kind of Batman story.
Yeah. I think it'll be the same as most people's. It's number 4 with Sophia.
Yeah. Said
That
Danny.
blew me away. It was just absolutely really, and like for an episode, like for a series called The Penguin, to have a really bold choice of, like, I know he's in at the start of it a little bit as her driver, but like you've just an entire episode dedicated to Sophia, and you sympathize so goddamn much with her. Then
Yeah.
you're like this series the entire time has you. Oh, this is my favorite person. Oh no, wait, they're after fucking out. They're after doing something horrific. This is my favorite person now. But like that episode in particular, I I knew Christina, is it Christina Milotti? Is that her name? Yeah.
Mignotti, yeah. Mignotti.
I knew her a bit. Like, I know she was like in How I Met Your Mother as the mother and a few other bits and pieces, but
She's in
like,
The Sopranos.
is she?
She
I
was,
remember in The
yeah.
Sopranos.
She was, no, she was a minor character, but yeah, she was Catherine Sacramone in The
Oh,
Sopranos.
okay.
Yeah. Wolf of Wall Street as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Yes.
She was his first bride. Yeah. Great
Um,
actress, great, an amazing cast.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the portrayal of Arkham in that, because you know in the cartoons you'll usually see Batman going through, and it's like these kind of like glass cells that they're usually in, but you can read this show really kind of hammers home. This is a lunatic asylum in like really horrific conditions, and doctors that are getting paid off to basically, if they want to do like electroshock therapy on you, if you've got the right price for them, they're all crooked as well. And it's just such a hopeless episode, and someone who went in completely innocent. It's like one of my worst nightmares of like just being put in an asylum and then you're just labeled as crazy, having done nothing. Like, it's absolutely horrific what she has to go through. Um, and it just puts the entire audience on her side. And I just loved it. I thought she was absolutely incredible in it. One of
Yeah.
my favorite.
And then
Yeah.
you've got kind of the catharsis at the end of her stepping up, kind of deciding she wants to go a bit punky with her hair and
Yeah.
just being like, and then murdering her family. Like, essentially, like in the same episode, you have that, like you have and how quickly it all happened for her as well. Like, you're talking worst nightmare scenario, but like it literally, she had a 5 minute meeting with a reporter and a discussion, and all of a sudden she's gone from um the last time she saw her father, the betrayal of that, how he essentially set out to destroy her just because she asked the wrong question, which is
Yeah.
a very natural question for her to ask. What happened to my mother? Um,
By
and
the way,
like,
as well, great fucking casting with Mark Strong when they couldn't get John Turturro.
yes, yeah, and like, I would have said that that's unforgivable because John Turturro was probably one of my favorite parts about
Mm.
the Batman. Um, but yeah, Mark Strong just absolutely knocks it out of the park wherever he goes.
And it
What I
worked
loved
as
in that
a younger
episode,
version.
yeah, it fitted.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. I loved in the episode as well. You can kind of what I think makes it a true HBO show is it does so much in so little amount of time. Like I said, like by the time Oz turns on Sophia in episode 3, we feel like we're probably about 8 or 9 episodes into a normal show because we feel so connected to the characters. And it's the little bit of shorthand and the good writing that we see. Like we could see the closeness that her and Oz have in just that bit of banter where she's like, "You've a dick, so at least you're eligible for promotion," you know? And we're like, I get this relationship right away. So
Mm.
even within this same episode, I feel the betrayal that exists, and I instantly understand the context of everything that happens. Even just seeing Carmine's gentle manipulation of her, like how he just calls her beautiful, or he compares her to him. Like anytime he can just kind of hand wave any awkward questions she may have until she just asks exactly the right questions. Like But what I liked about it is there's no perfect characters here because you say that makes her a hero, but what she doesn't realize is that, like, and this is the depth that I love from the show, and I want to kind of dig into a little bit, is that in this episode, we kind of see how Sophia, without realizing it, set into motion what Oz was going to do. Like, what makes Oz snap? What makes him go crazy? Well, one, you're related to him, apparently. Or two, you insult him, you demean him, you look down on him, you disrespect him. And there's a moment in this when I watched it on a rewatch with context then of everything that was happening where I'm like, holy shit. And she turns around in the car and she just snaps at him and she goes, I don't care what you think. You're my driver and that's all you'll ever be. And I'm like, that's the moment. That's the
Mm.
moment. That's like the moment that he chose to shoot Arthur at the start of the show. She's like, as soon as you're disrespected by Oz, as soon as you disrespect Oz, you're dead to him.
Yeah.
And but she
Even
can't.
even like when he's sold just before he sold her in, and he's like, your father wants to see it, and she's like, what are you doing in the house? Like he's a
Yeah,
dog.
yeah,
And
yeah,
he's like dressed up because he's after getting a promotion as well. And the way she looks down at him and then says that to him as well. I feel like that's the moment where
yeah.
he really snaps. It's like, what are you
Yeah,
doing
he's
in the
just like
house?
that's the moment he's confirmed because she's already betrayed her.
Yeah.
But at the moment, he's like, yeah, well, I was right to do this, But she can't see her own responsibility in that, and that's what makes this
Mm.
great because she's definitely wronged. It's not that she deserved what happened, and it is horrific to undergo it. It is one of the best portrayals of gaslighting and brainwashing I've seen on television. Kind of the distorted camera shots shows how she's losing her grip on her reality, like but the one thing that never changes no matter what is the story that she says about her innocence. It's not one of these where they just keep torturing her until she just confesses everything. She does become a murderer, but they turn her into a murderer. And like again, they just take away her hope piece by piece by piece, which gives us such catharsis when she does rebuild, and almost it's like, who's the hero now? It's an amazing episode of television. And again, yeah, like you said, it just marks it out as this show is fucking different. This show is better. I've seen the likes of Gotham try to do this episode, but in reality, they've just defaulted to weirdness because they didn't know how to carry it through in terms of sheer character and stakes and all the things that matter and drive someone. So they've just defaulted to something freaky happens or there's a twist or something like that. And I'm like, you
Or chuck
nailed
in
it.
a random cameo and you're like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like they had all the Batman aesthetic and weirdness and vibes and style, but they
Mm.
had the HBO substance, and that's when I was like, right, this show is different. Um, in terms of the series as a whole, who would you say is the show's MVP?
Ooh, good question. Because like obviously it should really be Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of who I was like, I guess rooting for the entire time, it's Vic. Like
Okay.
he's our guy. I
Yeah.
kind of feel like, and he's I love the I think it was the start of episode, was it 2 or 3, when it showed Vic before the bombs went off in his house, and that with that reveal where you think it's fireworks going off, and then it's the bombs going off, and the seawater comes in. That was absolutely and it's such a smart way to show that as well from another
Yeah.
person's perspective. Um, but I think Vic, yeah, he's our underdog. And I know like Penguin is that underdog as well. Um, because like there's actually another thing that I kind of wanted actually going to go back to as well, where I think it's the end of episode 3 when he's talking to Sophia and they had that big talk, and like he convinces her to join up with him. His speech where he's talking about coming from nothing, and like he was for selling her out, basically he was given like the lounge and responsibility and all this kind of stuff, and his acting there was like, it's a guy, how's a guy like me supposed to turn that down? It is just phenomenal acting, like, as well. It's just brilliant because it convinces her, and even as an audience you're like, oh yeah, well look, you're a dick for selling her out and I hated you for that, but yeah, I get it, like
Yeah.
you really sympathize with him. But yeah, he should be MVP, but I loved and I can't remember the actor's name, which is really fucking bad. Um but I thought Vic, the kid who played Vic, was phenomenal. I thought he was
Uh, I don't know if I'm gonna get this right, because I feel like I'm saying a made up name in the Penguin world, but his name is
yeah.
Renzi Felenzi.
Renzi Felenzi.
Hey, yo, Renzi Felenzi! Hey, over here, this guy thinking he's a fucking gangster. Hey,
Renzi.
Felenzi, get the
But,
Gabagool!
but his
I
chemistry.
probably butchered that name because I'm just in the mood for saying everything in a penguin accent, but like, yeah, brilliant.
His
Brilliant
chemistry as
performances.
well with Colin Farrell was just off the charts too.
Yeah.
A lot of the
Yeah.
time you'll talk about chemistry of like maybe a male and a female actor together. These two dudes were absolutely brilliant together. You really bought their friendship and that they were just there for each other as well. And I loved every second of that. But yeah, man, Vic's story, and like even like it's so like maybe I'm just a sucker for the tragedy, but
Yeah.
like that episode, which I think is 3, guys. 3 should be a fucking standard episode as well,
Yeah.
where he doesn't meet his girlfriend at the bus station and makes that choice, is heartbreaking, especially considering as the show goes on and he gets more and more, like when he kills somebody for the first time, and you're like, you shouldn't be in this world, dude. And he's so incredibly loyal to Penguin as well. Like, I loved his story. I thought he was brilliant.
When his name, by the way, is I better correct myself. It's not Renzi Felenzi. I'm
Boo!
like, that sounds like a made up name. That sounds like a name you thought was funny, Jer. His name is Renzi Felis. Which yeah,
Felis.
that's way more.
Can we just refer to him as Renzi Felenzi?
That's his name. Look, he's in the Penguin. Yeah, Renzi Felenzi, get over here. The fucking Gabagool. No. Yeah, okay. He's Renzi Felenzi to us.
He's Felenzi.
We should give him an actual real name.
Fair.
He was phenomenal. Yeah, no, totally agree. How he had to carry stuff like the stutter.
Yes.
And not come across hokey at any stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not come across as too like he nailed it. I loved, like you said, that when he murdered Squid, and how disgusting that murder was. It's like, there's the murder you think you're doing, and kind of they gave us a bit of that, like Oz in the last episode when he shot the cop through the eye. You know, amazing stuff. But like then you've got kind of this is how murder would really look. This is what happens. You shoot a guy in an alley. It doesn't hit him in the face. It doesn't kill him immediately. It hits him in the neck and he has to bleed out in front of you while you hear his gurgles. It was
Yeah.
disgusting. It's like, are you sure you're made for this world?
There's an
Yeah,
awkwardness to it that you're like, oh fuck, you just feel it. You're
yeah.
like, this wasn't done professionally, and you're like, oh my God, this is awful.
100%.
Yeah.
Kristen Milioti deserves a part of this conversation, but for me, I'm not overthinking it. It's Colin Farrell.
Mm,
What he has to do here, he's like, again, right up until the end. It's one of those things where, and I love this ending. I'm just after rewatching Dune, both movies, with Dune Prophecy obviously coming out next week, and like Chalamet does it in Dune as well, where it's like you feel like you should still root for him right up until the end, but he's definitely a bad dude. But he's done so much good groundwork to get you to that point. You're
mm,
like, I'm not sure if I still like this person. Walter White is another person he reminds me a lot of. Obviously, the Tony Soprano comparisons exist, and it works on that side. But he has to do so much in terms of making Oz relatable, like the groundedness that he has there. Like he's a guy who likes mixing slush puppies. He's a guy who likes to watch the sunrise. He's a poor kid who's managed to, hustle his way into money, but he doesn't know how to spend it. Like he's looking at like I love the details of this show, like where he's in the car with Renzi Felenzi, and he's just like, "Hey, look at that air freshener. Yeah, Aqua Paradise." It's just like, oh shit. One of my favorite moments of the show was when Sal Maroni and Sofia are going through Oz's apartment and he turns on the fire and then the cheesy music
Oh
starts playing
yeah.
in the background and Sophia just goes, I know. But it's relatable. It's like, how cheesy would I be if I inherited millions overnight? You know what I mean? Like I
Mm,
wouldn't know how to be rich and classy. Like, but just the layers to his character. And look, we're going to talk a lot about the relationship with his mother as we go on. So I don't think we need to get into that just right now. But just
mm.
the little things to just tell us so much. Like, he constantly throughout repeats stuff like, look what you made me do. But he's also genuinely fucking funny. You know what I mean? Like, even with the stuff where he doesn't mean to be funny, like when he's leaving Vic in the apartment by himself, he's like, "You do anything stupid, I'll sense it." You know what I mean? Like, he's like the hypocrisy, the way he treats Victor, like he's upset. Like even in a rewatch, it just hits so much more. Where it's like he's really upset with Victor when he learns that Victor sees himself as a kind of hostage. But the first time they meet, he literally took his ID. And
Mm.
we know that Vic got it back because of what happened in the last episode, but we didn't know at that point. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, you took his ID. Like he can't move without you, without ID. Like that's
Yeah.
why he needs to go. Like, but also he has that inspirational kind of leader thing where he can just get people to fight behind him, like the Gold Summit. Like, but
The
he
Gold
like,
Summit, man, that speech was
oh,
phenomenal, dude.
yeah, but also like how he'll do that, and then the very next episode, like when he realizes a bomb is about to go off, he just runs away from his men. He doesn't
Mm.
at any stage think to shout or warn them. He's like, "You're fucking dying," and then he runs away, and then like, but also he runs into the place where his brothers died. The messed up fact that the place he centers his drug empire is the place that he murdered his brothers, like, and like he has to capture all of that. Also, special shout out to Child Oz as well. Ryder Allen
Oh, yeah.
absolutely nailed it. Like everyone in this nailed it. The acting was next level here,
Mm.
but Colin Farrell has to carry every single bit of that, and take you on that journey and make it feel believable. And he absolutely nailed it by the end. And again, give him every award. Shows like this tend to not get respected. I have a feeling this might be the one exception that gets made, and I hope that in particular it comes to acting, and I hope that the people we mentioned. I would love in the middle of it if John Travolta is just about to hand out an award and he's like, and now the Emmy for Best Supporting Actor Rinsey for Lindsay.
Forget John Travolta. It's just you.
Yeah, but like John Travolta does it famously, like get people's names wrong at awards. So I feel he'd be great at it.
I just would love to know the backstory of how you got there.
Shall we talk about the finale? Because there's a lot to discuss.
Yes, I think we should.
Yes, let's do this.
There's
Okay.
there's one thing I really want to just and I didn't know where to kind of bring it in or bring
Okay.
it up. There's two parts of the show that I absolutely fucking love because it dances on the line of grounded and comic books. And that's the drug called bliss that comes to the mushrooms. You're like, this is kind of realistic enough to be potentially true, but also kind of comic booky as well.
Yeah. Very cool.
I absolutely loved that. I thought that was like it was great. And then also just the penguin's lair in general. Like giving that backstory was fucking genius.
Yes.
And having it like be the place where like his brothers were killed. But like you can imagine on a comic book, a fucking disused underground train station being the penguin's lair. Even in Batman Returns, he's in the sewers like as well with Danny DeVito, and it's a nice throwback to that, and it's realism, but you're bringing in enough of the comic book as well. And I just wanted to shout that out that the show got that so right, I think, as well. Those two things.
That's what sets this apart, because when Danny DeVito does it, it's because isn't that a weird thing for the Penguin to do? How weird is he? You know what I mean? But in this show, it's like, why is he weird? And how can that be interesting? And how can not only can we make that interesting, how can we make it interesting and fucked up? And like, how can we haunt your dreams because of this? And then to do that through that story was amazing stuff. And they managed to continue to twist it and turn it right up until the end. So we'll get to the finale as we always do. We're going to put you back into the mindset with an alt recap of the finale, where we'll walk you through exactly what happened before discussing it beat by beat. And we join the show as Frances is reliving her past, as it's revealed she knew Oz had killed her boys all along, and she was going to have Rex murder him until Oz promised that he'd take care of you, Ma. I'm going to take care of you. And a mother choosing not to murder her son under almost any circumstances is understandable, except for when he's pretty much drooling all over her, revealing dress, feeding her false promises that wouldn't even work in coppers. This show makes you think, like, how does this show make you think murder your son is the less creepy option? Like, that's the actual sane option versus whatever. Okay. Sophia threatens to cut Francis' pinky off unless Oz confesses to murdering his brothers, yet he refuses. We're supposed to think this shows how irredeemable Oz truly is, and maybe it does, but it did also get me thinking, and I want you to weigh in on this, Kev, right?
Okay.
What secret would you allow your mother's pinky to be cut off to keep that secret buried? What is the line? I'm not telling you to give me the secret here.
I was gonna say, like, this is a weird way or a freaking clever way of telling me.
No, you don't have to tell me an actual family, but what would the line be? Like, for me, it'd be like, if it's somewhere where it's like, tell your mother that you were having sex one time and she just popped into your head randomly. I'm like, no, take the finger, take the fucking finger. Take the finger. I'm not. That's going to the grave. That is it.
I have very little shame. I don't know what would it be. Like, sorry, Ma, you just popped on in there.
Yeah. Yes, it's popped up. I can't control how I feel, Ma. It was you and Renzi Valenzi. Mine goes weird places, Ma.
But you're gonna love her.
Anyway, friends.
Dressed up like you and everything.
Francis then stabbed Oz and had a stroke. Not that funny. It was actually pretty upsetting. Vic meets Oz in the hospital and gives him a pep talk so good about getting the lights and Crown Point switch back on that Oz immediately decides he wants to be the mayor. It's like telling your friend, that was a really funny joke you told, and he immediately books the Tree Arena for a stand-up comedy show. It's like there's stages that you need to get. You can't just go, you did one good thing once, and he's like, you're right, I'm going to be the mayor, kid. That's not how it works. Meanwhile, Sofia is playing checkers, putting a bounty on Oz's head so she can finally just fuck off on a J1. But Oz, he's playing chess, feeding City Hall scapegoats for the bombing in the Falcones and the Maronis. Sofia makes like Tom Jones in the Cardigans, and she burns down the house before meeting Zhao, who's captured Oz. Unfortunately for her, Oz is also making like Tom Jones in the Cardigans because it's not unusual for him to win his favorite game. And Oz's favorite game in particular is sending Sofia to Arkham after some pleasant chats while he drives her around. Fortunately for Sophia, she's not alone in Arkham. She's got a new pen pal. And Selena Kyle was like, so I was getting railed by Batman the other day and couldn't help but notice, hey sis! And yeah, to be continued on whatever else she said there. Having cultivated a new army by having all of Gotham's crime deputies moida their bosses, I can only say moida that way in this show. Oz is in celebrating mood, so he brings Frances some whiskey in hospital. Unfortunately, her whiskey soda days are over, as is any kind of action or movement beyond occasionally blinking and shedding single tears. So Oz chooses instead to celebrate with his second favorite way by murdering his family, or found family in this stage, as Victor signs his own death note after calling Oz the F word. It was absolutely heartbreaking. R.I.P. Victor. Oz's transition into the Penguin was complete, and we see the fruits of his labors. He's got his vegetative mother stuck in a vegetative state in basically an attic of a fancy old hotel, while he celebrates by dancing with Eve, who he creepily has dressed like a peak Francis Cobblepot. Gotham is his, or is it? Because as we zoom out in the distance, we see a bat signal about 6 weeks too late. And that was the finale of The Penguin. Kev, your thoughts on the finale?
That's perfection, man.
It was too late. Like, at what stage did they go, we should probably use the bat signal now? Like, what needs to happen beyond the ground exploding? Like,
and I didn't want to get into criticisms of this show straight away. I thought we might leave it. But look, we're here now. We're going to get into it a little bit, maybe. Why are the thugs not talking about Batman at all? Being like, do you know what? I don't really want to work the night shift tonight. Like, because that's the entirety of the Batman was like, people are terrified being out at night when they see the signal go up. And now, I guess you could defend it a little bit by saying after the flood, he became kind of more about like giving people hope rather than the whole vengeance thing. But even like if there was a line or two of dialogue about that, of like Bats hasn't been seen around or something, we never needed to see him ever. I don't think we needed to see him at all.
He's a charity worker now. He just helps kids get out of the lake.
But I would have loved a reference. Something would have been nice, I think. Like,
we didn't expect to see our Pats in this, and I think it would have lessened it. It would have lessened the show, but I do agree there. That's like I watched, especially with the explosion. I was like,
the underground, 100%.
At what stage? Like, fair enough. They're like, it's all the bad guys killing the other bad guys. That's probably what we'd want Batman to do. So actually, they're doing the work for us. So I can get that, but like the ground exploded. Like, it was a really impressive crater. This is it. But it's like, we have like,
these are also nitpicks. I just wanted to say as well.
It really is. We love this show. We love this show. But like, at what state? Come on.
I know.
But what's happened? Like, it's like now it's just like, we better turn the bat signal on. Is it because they forgot and they felt guilty? Like, what's happening right now that's led to it? If not the explosion, what's led to them going?
I hope it's something else. And like, that's where we start the Batman 2 of
I'd say so.
Imagine like starting out though from that shot, but we just zoom in closer to the city or something, where it's like the end shot of the Penguin is the start of the Batman 2. That would be fucking sick. Because like this is basically leads on straight from the first movie as well. So
Yeah.
would you want time to have passed? Actually, no, we'll get to this maybe a little bit later.
Yeah.
But like
Let's get it. The finale.
the
Your thoughts on
finale.
the actual finale itself.
I was 100% thinking Penguin's gonna die in this. I was 100% thinking Sophia was gonna die in this, and Vic was the only person that was gonna get out alive.
Oh, so you just were 100% wrong.
Boy, was I fucking wrong. Yeah. I loved it. This show though, I never ever knew where it was gonna go. Every time I thought it was going one way, it just completely pulled the rug from under me. This show had like a really tragic ending. Like nobody kind of came out great at the end of this. Even Penguin himself. But like the worst,
especially Penguin. That's
yeah. But like this they really stuck the landing with this. And I think I know it's kind of rushed, but like having Penguin try crime basically and rise up through the ranks in crime and crime families the entire season of this and not get anywhere, and the only people he can see in power and getting rich are the politicians, and him just getting inspired to like, okay, I want to run for mayor now. It's a perfect setup for another movie, or it's a perfect setup for another season. And they just absolutely nailed that, and I want to see more of it. I want to spend more time with this character, even though I kind of hate him for what he did, but
oh, big time. And that's, I think, what this finale gets right, because the one thing that made this, I think, feel so familiar to a prestige drama like The Sopranos and so on, is that we're very used to the kind of anti-hero, you know, he's a bad guy, but you have to like him. And we've already had that kind of conversation already. You know, difficult man, but you can kind of see where he's coming from because he's had a hard life.
Because he's the underdog, like, and
yeah. And we thought we were that's what we were getting here. And what I loved about this was Matt Reeves wasn't afraid that when he's written this picture perfect HBO show to actually pull the rug from under us and go, no, he's a comic book villain. We told you. He's the Penguin. He's not this complex being who's actually a good guy and who's very relatable, but he made it so thrilling to watch him get to that stage because where we meet him in the Batman, he's Falcone's main heavy, you know, and he's very small time, and you're like, that's not the Penguin, like, and then we're like, oh, we're getting an origin story, okay, that's going to take him up to be the Penguin. But the entire time throughout, I'm like, I don't see how he's a threat to the Batman. Like, I don't at any point here, you know. I like watching him hustle, and I like watching him climb the ladder, and I like watching him stick it to the man, and the more established kind of mob bosses and so on. And he's very charismatic and entertaining in how he does so, even if I don't agree with the way he does it. And then by the end, it's like, no, he's irredeemable. He's sick. He is fucked up, and he can turn any situation into an advantageous one. But I love the fact that it was like Colin Farrell the entire time doing all the promos since the start of this said, you're going to think you like him, but you won't. By the end, trust me, you're not going to like this guy. And fuck me, they weren't wrong. And they weren't afraid to not be wrong. But everything they did stay true to it. Again, it showed Matt Reeves' just understanding of the Batman world and the limitless potential that you have in it, because we're in an era where we have The Boys, where we have the likes of Invincible. We're no strangers anymore to getting an adult level of storytelling for a comic book genre story. But Batman is the only really A-list comic book story where you can get this adult, where you can get this fucked up, where you can get deranged and messed up. And in a world where finales are, and we're very much in this prestige TV mindset, because that's what they position this show as, we're used to finales being kind of prologues. Like, this is what happened after the cool thing that happened in the penultimate episode, you know. Game of Thrones, episode 9 is always the episode you want to watch, and so on and so forth. This kept you going right up until the last second. They just kept twisting and twisting and twisting the knife, and they kept everything. And I fucking love that. And I understand why creators move away from the finale, because it can seem like The Walking Dead was guilty of this, okay? The Walking Dead was guilty of, at times, the finale is the only episode you really need to watch syndrome, because they put everything into the finale, and then it's like the stakes don't matter in every other episode.
Yeah.
They're just
It's just
building
how do we get
towards
here?
that.
Yeah.
And then all of the important people are going to happen to show up at the time and then it's just a big fucking schmoz. That's why creators will like do things outside of out of sync with the rhythms we're expecting. And now we've gotten used to being like, episode 3 is the episode in The Last of Us you want to watch. Episode 4 is the amazing episode in this. And they pick their moments to kind of have the episode rather than build it up to the finale. But still, when you can pull it off, a finale like this that ties everything together in kind of, think of Game of Thrones, Winds of Winter, the season finale to episode 6, where it's like Cersei exploding the sept, Jon Snow reveal, this, that, the other, and everything happens, but it all makes sense, and all the arcs are converging in a natural standpoint for it all to make sense. That's what they achieved with this. It was phenomenal. It was the best episode of the series by a mile, and it took the series into a new stratosphere by being able to sink the landing so satisfyingly. I felt that this series would be able to do that. I never lost confidence in it, but it was so nice to have that confidence affirmed in an episode that just didn't disappoint me in any single way. And like you said, I'll be thinking about this for a while. I'll mainly be thinking about how fucked up everything was with Oz and Francis. Let's get into that relationship, because there's a lot to discuss. Give me your thoughts on everything we were built up to, and then what the finale was really interesting was like, no, this is the central relationship. This is the one that matters. You know what I mean? It's like, like Francis, and amazingly played by Deirdre O'Connell, absolutely phenomenal. Strong Livia Soprano vibes from The Off. But she really made it her own, and then absolutely knocked it out of the park with this episode. But what are your thoughts on the overall Oz mommy issues?
Oh Jesus, yeah. This episode I thought was like, she was absolutely phenomenal in this, but it was there was a couple of just moments when she didn't give in to Sophia. Even like at the very, very end, she was like, when she said she's going to be tap dancing on her grave.
That is one of the best delivered lines in this, by the way. I remember,
stop. It was
tap on your grave.
Yeah.
Ginger fucking Rogers. Every word
Venom.
Gets more hateful. Like, fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing job from Deirdre O'Connell. Also deserves an Emmy. Give them all fucking Emmys.
They all, to be fair, they all do. Like, all 4 of the main characters in this. Yeah. But man, from episode 3, when he makes the promise to her that if she ever gets into a vegetative state, and that's how she winds up at the end, when it cut to that, my heart dropped. It was absolutely awful. And like, this is the interesting thing though about the show, is like, he doesn't like, and Sophia calls him out and is like, you don't care about her at all. You just, all you care about is yourself. And I don't know when that stopped, because he's obsessed with her as a kid, and that's all he wants is just affection from her. But then I guess it's maybe after the brothers die, and how she acts. Somehow he's just gotten completely delusional from it, and all he does care about is himself. But yeah, man, that fucking got me so good at the end of just, I think she's got the most tragic ending of this series.
Oh yeah. She's just stuck in an attic, like in an empty attic,
and that single tear that goes through their face, and like, he thinks it's a tear of joy because he's really happy about it, and he's just so delusional that he thinks it's a tear of joy, but she's just like, fucking kill me. This is the worst case scenario for me.
It is like, and the arrogance and delusion, self-delusion he's under, and it really underpins the, like, as soon as we saw the origin story of how he killed his brothers, we knew this kid was broken. But that
Mm,
just shows, like, he is like, what he says is, it's everything we ever wanted. Okay.
mm,
And it's everything he ever wanted, because now his mother cannot give attention to anyone else. And like, there's nothing else she can do. There's nothing that can distract her. But like you said, it is literally the opposite of what she wanted. It is her worst nightmare that she has to live. And I don't know if it's, I think the way to look at Oz's brokenness, and this is something that I'm thinking about quite a lot, and I'm probably going to continue to think about for a few months, is it's it's not that he doesn't love her or doesn't care. It's that he can't love her and can't care. She is his identity, because his identity is a child with a disability who is looked down upon as less than, and is angry at the world. And his mother is the only person who is capable of seeing him, as of seeing the strength that he believes is within himself. So that then becomes his identity, but he has to, again, everyone is the hero of their own story. That no one is going to tell themselves they're the villain.
mm.
They all have reasons and justifications, even if they're delusional, even to say out loud. Um, and what he needs is her validation, and he'll coat that in a love and devotion. But again, when it comes down to it, if her needs intersect with his, he will have no problem giving her, or if her needs contradict his, he will have no problem giving her, forcing her to live out her worst nightmare. What I loved about the show, and it's such a good show on a rewatch, it's even better, is, do you remember the song that played, and the music by this, fantastic. I want to give a shout out to, this isn't the point I'm going to make, but for me, a great needle drop, Only You by Yazoo,
Oh yeah.
while the brothers drowned. Like, I've seen that used a lot. Like, the first time I think it was ever used in a high profile one was The Office Christmas finale, and it was used perfectly for like a lovey-dovey moment. Um, but they really subverted the use of it by
Yeah.
having it be the soundtrack to children dying. And it's like so fucked up. But
And the cutaways. Jesus Christ.
do you remember Vic and Oz get into the car and a song plays on the radio? And it's really ironic song, almost like Deadpool and Wolverine, like when Grease Lightning came on the radio.
It
It was
slipped my
also the
mind.
song that finished the episode. It played over the credits.
I can't remember.
Okay. It was 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. Right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Do you
Yeah.
remember when Oz was in the kitchen with young Oz was in the kitchen with his mom? We see back to his childhood. Do you remember what song was playing in the background?
No.
It was
Like,
Islands in the Stream.
oh
And
no
you're like,
way.
Oz listens to Dolly Parton because his mom listened to Dolly Parton, and it's just like the connective tissue with this, and just the little Easter eggs. You're like, holy fuck, that's where he got it. That's why he listens to 9 to 5, because it's Dolly Parton. It's such small Easter eggs, but it's so
That's blowing my
fucking
mind,
clever.
dude.
It's incredible. The attention to detail is just there. The irony of the last words his mother will ever say to him being, "You're a disappointment. I wake up every day sick that I'm your mother. I should have let Rex kill you that night."
Yeah.
And that, she'll never say another word to him. But he can't. Again, this is where Oz is broken. That didn't happen to him. He's immediately able to just position that out, because again, that would remove his identity. So as soon as his mother then has the stroke and is in peril, he then clicks back in. He's like, she needs me, so I'm going to save her. And he's able to just forget about that. And then he goes to the hospital after she said all these things to her, and he's like, "Ma, we won. Hey, look at the TV saying that I fed him all that bullshit." And it's like, she told you she knows she killed your brother, and that just didn't happen. And if you know someone with like severe kind of, if you've ever known someone with severe mental disorders, that's something that actually rings true, in that they
Mm.
can just boom, you can just say the most fucked up thing to them, and they can just go, whoop, that didn't happen, it didn't exist. And it's like, holy fucking shit. I loved the final scene though. Incredible. Giving us the penguin that we were kind of waiting for. We're like, are we gonna get the top hat? Are we gonna get
Oh
Suspect?
yeah.
And then we watched so much Ginger Rogers, and the movie is literally called Top Hat. And we're like, okay, yeah, we're getting the top hat. But like, you don't want it to go full Danny DeVito either. And
Yeah.
where they got there was it's perfect. It's consistent within his character, but it's still the person we know. And then Eve, like, think about how fucked up that relationship is. Like, do you remember
Like,
Eve when she's talking to Sophia? Another
yeah.
excellent scene, by the
Was
way.
just about to say, yeah.
And she's like, he doesn't like when I look like this. And we kind of get a look at her hair and wardrobe. I'd love to go back. I haven't had a chance, but I'd love to go back and see that wardrobe now and that
Hmm.
hair and be like, oh, that's his mom. I'm like, holy fucking shit. And
Yeah.
she knows because he's saying, Ma, Ma. He's calling her mom. Now, I don't know. I haven't. I haven't got a direct line to the prostitution industry. So maybe that's just a common trope that I imagine they may come across from time to time.
Potentially, yeah.
But she's very
Like the
like,
last thing I think we see of her is basically her selling him out to Sophia, being like, yeah,
yeah.
fucking kill him.
Yeah, but he won. And
And
so
he
she's
won, like,
not.
yeah. And
Yeah.
like, does he know that? Does he know she
Yeah.
did that? I wonder. Like that relationship is super fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was creep. Do you know what the other good thing though as well is like with the top hat and just that the more penguiny kind of suit was like he's going into politics. He was told he had to be squeaky clean. You're
Mm.
like, is he gonna show up with a monocle? Maybe.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Like
no,
again, it's
when he
go
got
ahead.
stabbed by Francis as well. Do you ever play the Batman Arkham Asylum games?
No.
The penguin in that, I'm pretty sure it's in the games, might be in the comics as well, has got basically a glass bottle instead of a monocle because someone had shoved it in his eye. And I thought they were gonna go for something like that where he had like
Ah.
a part of a glass bottle stuck in his face. And like he's proper disgusting and horrible in that as well. But I thought they were kind of going for that. But yeah, I love that they're kind of slowly introducing because I think even in the first episode, he had an umbrella as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just little
Yeah.
bits like that where they're just kind of maybe paying a little bit of homage to it.
And but here's what it is. It's consistent with his character because again, like that is like we were saying, the like Oz's like poor kid perception of what a rich person gets like is actually the cringiest thing ever.
Yeah.
Um that is why does Oz dress like that? Because that is a poor kid who grew up in Crown Point, his perception of what a squeaky clean politician looks like. And it's just so consistent with the person that we know he is. It's
Yeah.
cringy, yes, but Oz doesn't know how to look squeaky clean. He doesn't know what that looks like. He's a fish out of water in the City Hall game, but he's just so powerful and charismatic and convincing. It's like Donald Trump. Like again, we're like, he can't be president with that fucking haircut, and he's just like, apparently he can. Apparently you just can. Like, and that's it. Apparently, if you've got the stuff, people will just be like, I'm going with it. Like, yeah, okay, fuck it. Let's talk some Sophia. She ends up in Arkham in the end.
Mm.
Um, again, like, it looked at different times like she's gonna get away, is she gonna die? I don't think I don't know. I didn't want her dead. I definitely
No,
I was like,
I was
we've
very
got
pleasantly
an
surprised.
absolute asset now in this universe. And while this is definitely a limited series, there is scope for season 2, and I'd love if they announced it. But right now this is a limited series, so we do need an actual ending. Um, for me, I think this gives us the best of both worlds. But what's your own
Yeah.
thoughts?
Uh, I loved that scene where you think Oz is going to go and just put her bullet in the back of her head. There's like a shot that's really close up on her face that looks the way they've lined up the lights kind of going out of her forehead looks like the gun has actually shot her through the head.
That was
And that's like the
brilliant.
flash of the gun. It's such a beautiful shot. It's so good. But and just the reveal of that of like just the cops coming back. But like, once again, she worked so hard to get out of there and is just back in Arkham again. But man, I've seen far too much in Marvel and DC as well, where they just kill off the bad guy at the end, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, that's them gone forever now. If you have somewhere like Arkham that you can put these people, hang on to them because you never know when you might need them again. And I love that they kept her as well because I was sure that she was gonna die and just be this really tragic character, but I'm so happy they kept her. And even though it's a fucked ending for her, I mean she's got reasons to come back now with Selena. It was a little shoehorned in, if I'm being perfectly
Yeah,
honest,
like
but
what do we think is gonna happen there? That's the one thing where I'm like, because to me, if I'm like, again, I was joking earlier, but if I'm Selena watching that, like, first off, the Selena we're getting isn't the kind of shades of Grey Catwoman that we're used to. She's more like she's a good person and she wants to do the right thing. She'll cut a few corners and whatnot to get there, but she's not
Mm,
like a jewel thief or anything like that we've kind of seen Catwoman as before. Um, so it's interesting because for me, that Selena, what would have been consistent for her would have been she'd have saw that and she's like, "This fucking family, I don't want to be part of it."
yeah.
And her jumping in and just being like, "Hey, sis," is like, I don't know. It was a
It
reach for
depends what
me.
it depends what the letter says,
Yeah,
I guess, as well. But maybe she knew about the whole hangman thing. We don't really know when we won't know it, till the next movie or the next season that they do.
yeah,
Unfortunately, but I did feel that was a little shoehorned in.
yeah,
With
yeah.
that, it was just
I don't mind it. It's intriguing. Like the value that I'll get thinking about what that could mean for the next couple of years makes it worthwhile. So I don't hate it on balance. It's probably a net profit, but yeah, it's not perfect because like
mm,
again, I'm also like, oh, I don't know. Yeah. But again, she could feel sorry for her. Yeah, that there could be a degree of sympathy. There are two people who've gotten royally fucked over by Carmine Falcone. So yeah, I could it's not beyond the realms of capacity of possibility there. And
yeah.
again, like Selena, maybe she should be more of a Shades of Grey character. Maybe there should be more depth there. Maybe it's no fun if she's just Batman's girlfriend, which is
Oh, 100%, yeah. She
yeah,
should be.
yeah.
Yeah. And like if I don't know, yeah, I think those two could be very interesting together as well. If
Mm,
she breaks her out and they I don't know if they go after Penguin, if they go after Batman, if they do their own thing, but I think that would be kind of cool. But anything just to have more Sophia, I'm all in
yeah,
for. Tell you who I
yeah,
don't want any more of though is Julian.
yeah. Ooh, ooh,
I didn't
he's
get his entire character for the whole series. He's like one of
yeah.
the only real weak points of the series for me. I
Okay.
I didn't really get any of like the point of him at all.
Yeah,
Especially past when he was like in the asylum, and then he like, professes his love to her. Because at the start you're kind of thinking like, what the fuck are you doing this creepy shit with the therapy sessions?
when
And I
he's
thought,
holding her,
yeah,
like I was instantly like, oh,
and I thought they were going to do something more with that, and then they didn't. They kind of didn't really go anywhere with that. They just kind of made him a bit subservient of her, and was just a very nothing character after that to me.
Hmm. Interesting. I didn't hate him, but yeah, he is a tool. He is a device more than anything else. Like he's
Mm,
not a significant character. But like again, he's got that kind of Gotham supervillain kind of vibes. Not supervillain, but kind of, he plays a part and he's
yeah.
just,
I mean, it
so
worked out well for Francis's scene that like, okay, they can get to where they need to go
yeah.
with him because of this.
Yeah, he's a device. He's a tool.
Yeah.
He's not gonna, he's our henchman, and I'm okay with that because I think she needed that because again, like it was very unclear where her army was and what her power was and stuff like that as
Mm,
well. So you needed someone there to kind of express that and actually speak to her, and having that be, the psychologist that is on her side, but also kind of took advantage of her. And at any point, I thought there's an interesting dramatic tension there. So I kind of hope that we do see more of him just because it justifies how much we've seen of him, if that makes sense. It's like I've been in this queue for so long. I better get what I want at the end. It's a bit of that there, investment bias, but yeah. I did like I thought kind of they told that story very well. I like Sophia just was a fish out of water in this world ultimately. Like she's smart, but she's she's filled with vengeance, and that's all that essentially drives her. She doesn't have the know-how, she doesn't have the smarts, she doesn't have kind of, we're kind of relying on Carmen Falcone's judgment of her, as she could run this family to do a lot of the heavy lifting, whereas they never really showed that. And to see her get played by Oz, when all she really has to offer is just the raw power of the Falcone legacy, is it was fitting.
Gigante.
And yeah, it's a fate worse than death for her. I did like a lot of the allusions that I spoke to in the alt recap, where it was like, her and Oz going for one last drive and so on. I loved her origin story. I was rooting for her. And yeah, like, I'm happy with this. I'm just more happy to get Kristen Milioti. Like, she's getting her starring role, because she has been a Julian style character in almost everything major we've ever seen her in, and you always feel with her that there's much more there, and you're just like, right, we found the right person in the
Yeah.
right world for the right role. And I'm just relieved that we get to keep her around for a while. One person we won't get to keep around, unfortunately, is Victor.
Mm.
For me, and I want to get your thoughts on this. When I watched this first, and this changed, this evolved for me as I thought about it more, but this felt like a betrayal too far. It felt like a bit. When I watched this originally, I was like, no, and I was sad and upset, but it didn't emotionally hit me. But then, as I got it more, it emotionally landed. It felt initially like that wasn't the show we watched, and that wasn't it. And it felt like a bit of a twist for the sake of a twist, just to establish that he's evil. What were your first impressions, apart from just sadness?
I kind of felt, I don't know if I felt like as strong a juxtaposition as you did, because like it was the line that got me, and I was like, oh, this is coming, is the squeaky clean line. He's like, I have to fucking cut everything. And he's no problem with cutting everything as well. So it's just that squeaky clean and the looking up to the mayor's office, like, I have to shed every part of me that was like associated with the criminal underworld, including Vic. And I know he could probably have just said, get the fuck out of here, go to California, meet your girl, but that's not who Penguin is. He can't have any loose ends. But as soon as he said fuck and had his arm around him, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
My heart just sank. And the way he does it is absolutely brutal as well. Just bare hands. Um, and then the taking of the money, making it look like a random mugging, and then the ID that you talked about earlier that he still had over him, that he obviously got back, yeah. Going in the water and like he essentially drowning like his family did, all ended up in the water. Um, that was absolutely heartbreaking, and it really did make me hate Oz for
Yeah.
that, because Vic was my favorite. I'd really, really liked Vic. I was rooting for Vic. And it's nice to have a show like you said earlier, like of the anti-hero with Penguin, and you're kind of rooting for him, even though like this show proved otherwise. It's nice having a baby face like Vic, where you're like, you shouldn't be here, and you're just wrapped up in the wrong thing, and you're with him. He's your guy. And just to have him killed off like that, like so unnecessarily, is just heartbreaking, man. I loved it.
The trope is to, like, that you expect them to play on, is that Vic he's either the next Penguin, or he's the Virgil to Ted DiBiase. Do you know what I mean? He's the guy who's gonna, like, turn on Oz and become a good guy. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
and throughout the series, I was like, they said they were gonna do could he be Robin? Like, what? How did they? What goes on here? Like, how do you do this? Like, what do you do with Vic afterwards? And then when I thought about it and really got into what the series was and dug through my notes that I'd taken on a rewatch, I'm like, fuck. They spelled this out from the get-go. They told us this is what's going to happen. What's the thing that Oz says to Vic in literally episode 1 when they dump the body? He goes, I guess I got to kill you now. It's just a small play here, Victor. You know it is.
Yeah.
Like, episode 1, he told him, okay, Vic is nice to Francis, okay, and like he starts indulging Francis, pretending that he's Jack and that Benny's on his way, and doing that as well. In the moment, it was just weird because I was, why are you snapping? She's happy, like just let her be happy and comforted. And like it's a bit weird, yeah, but he's doing the best he can with a dementia patient. But now we know it's like, oh, he's taking attention. He's stepping into the Jack role. And we know what happened to Jack. And it's like, holy fucking shit. He's putting himself in the fire line without seeing it. And then you think of the bonding that happens between the two. And aside from that one dinner they had where Oz corrected the waiter, I can't actually think of much. Like,
Because like I think it was the episode after, he's in the car and he was like Oz finds out he was gonna go off with his girlfriend, and Vic's stuttering, and Oz just completely turns the opposite of like when the waiter was trying to force him and rush him. He just forces him and rushes him as well, and you're like, you don't give a shit about this kid.
Yeah.
Vic was also the one that got all the second in commands to take out the bosses as well. I'm
so
sure.
Again, like, why would Oz leave himself with a second in command? Like, all Oz has spent the entire season learning is like, from both his and Sophia's situation, is that family makes you vulnerable, like through his mother and Sophia's family, and having that makes you vulnerable. He's sparked that Godfather like murder spree. Why would he set that into motion for himself? Why would he keep a number 2? But also as well, the bonds that we think we experience and feel right up until that moment, that's actually just Vic projecting his need for a family onto Oz. It's not there. Oz is more abusive to Vic than anything else. And it is, when you watch the relationship back, it's like, this is an abusive relationship. He is mind fucking him. He is shouting at him and abusing him the majority of the time. But similar to Carmine Falcone, every time Sofia asks a difficult question, he's like, hey, beautiful, you remind me of me when I was your age. And like, he just gets her back on side through flattery. Oz will say something like, stand tall, you know what I mean? Even like the most tender moment I can think of between them is after Vic comes back and Oz realizes that he's killed Squid. And then he hugs him and then says, it gets easier.
I mean, that's the most fucked up. Yeah, it's really fucked up.
It's not like it's all right, it's okay, it's this. It's like, oh, you're going to be killing people without even blinking. You know what I mean? Like, that's like,
I
not
don't give
okay.
a shit about how you're feeling right now. It's like, it just gets easier. It's like, dude, majorly fucked.
You brought it up there, and this is what got me the most, especially on a rewatch. It was how little Oz gave a fuck. It was Vic is lying dead right in front of him, and Oz just takes out his wallet, takes his money, takes the ID. The ID doesn't even come close to shedding a tear at the ID or looking whimsical. He just literally discards it and throws it into the river, and it's like, fuck you. It is not only like, I hate, because the words he's saying to Vic is comforting while he's killing him, and he's like almost giving him the whole, I hate that I have to do this, blah, blah, blah.
You're a good kid, Vic.
Yeah, but you could have put a bullet in his head and not have him had to sit through that horrific few minutes of being choked out and being betrayed and all the you could have just done that, like, and done it quickly. But it's just Vic's body's laying there and he just walks away from him and he's like, I don't even care to cover this up because what the fuck are they gonna do to me? You know what I mean? And it's just like that disregard, and that is just like, this guy's fucked. Anything else you kind of want to add from the finale before we get talking into what you want next?
Not particularly about the finale, but I do want to give a shout out to Michael Kelly in this as well. Johnny Vito. I thought he was a dude that I love to hate. I thought he was brilliant. I love anytime he shows up in anything. I think he's a great character actor. And it was just, every scene he was in was just always really fun because he was such a dick. Like, but I loved, like, especially the dinner scene when he's been such an asshole to Sofia and she just gives him this look of, really? You're gonna talk right now? And he just shuts the fuck up. It was great.
The best death.
His
best
death was
death as well.
so, it was expected, but completely unexpected as well.
Like, yeah,
I
you knew it
loved
was
it.
gonna happen, and he was just there for the time being. But like when it happened, it was just like boom, and it's like, holy shit, he's a
Yeah.
big character. We're 10 minutes into the
Yeah.
episode, and like it's not even the end of the scene. The
Yeah.
scene is this is just the start of the scene, and Johnny Vidi's just lying there dead, and then them picking up money filled with his blood, like literally blood money. Yeah, it was great, and he was great as well. Like he's brilliant
He
and
was.
everything.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you want next from this series, these characters. What next?
Can we talk? Can I just talk about the Batman briefly,
Yeah,
actually?
yeah.
I rewatched the Batman before this, and I wasn't mad on it the first time I saw the movie in the cinema. I
Same page.
still think it's too long.
Okay.
I think it needs editing 100%. But I do think this show is better than the Batman movie.
Yeah. Oh,
100%.
100% sign off. This show
Yeah.
achieves more. Yeah.
Way, 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 way more.
Yeah.
But this show has probably made me like the movie more though.
Mm.
Even though like I was still not crazy about it the second time I watched it, I'll probably watch this again knowing what I know from the Penguin and what's coming and yeah, and really just appreciate it, I think a little bit more. But
Yeah.
what do I want from like do you want like a second movie or a second
What like
series
again,
or
you tell me what this leaves you wanting. Because for me, this makes it awkward because now we're in this new James Gunn is gonna save DCEU, and it's like, oh no, it's grand, we got saved. Like
yeah.
that's my take. I'm like, Matt Reeves did it. Yeah, no, he figured it out. Yeah, that just that.
But
I
I
want that.
love that we got our own little this Batman universe here. And James
Yeah.
Gunn can do whatever the fuck he wants with his Batman, but we have
But don't
this one
touch
here.
this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't
Leave
touch.
it,
And
leave
he's
it be.
reassuring us that he's not going to, and this is part of a trilogy. There's an interesting one. Did you see the news that was leaked during the week about a project in this? They're talking about doing a similar show for the Joker with Barry Keoghan.
I don't want Joker.
I want more Barry Keoghan, and I want more shows like this on HBO.
I want a season 2 of this, but I want it a bit more like The Wire, where we get Gotham PD and Penguin's rise to being mayor.
I wouldn't mind if they didn't do season 2 of this. I think we've got this story.
Mm.
I'm okay with the Penguin now. The Penguin story is told, so I'm okay with Penguin being the baddie in someone else's story. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with like if we get a Joker story, I definitely want the Penguin in it. And how does the Joker interact with that? Like again, how do their interests collide, or where do they intersect, and how do they interact with each other? I want the Penguin.
I'm Jokered out, man. I want a Mr. Freeze story, maybe.
Yeah, I don't. But again, like I also look at it and go, yeah, well, like Joaquin Phoenix doesn't count. I'm like, it doesn't count. I'm like, I want Matt Reeves. I want more of this. I do get what you're saying about Joker though. Like, yeah, and like the Joker series has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you know what I want to see? I want more HBOification of classic stories. Like, I want to be sitting here in a few years talking to you. They just announced that Harry Potter reboot. Do you know what I mean? And like,
oh yeah,
I'm nervous about that.
Who's been looked at for Dumbledore? Is it someone? Is your man Mark? Is it Mark Ryland? Is that his name?
I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I think he's been looked at for Dumbledore anyway.
But I want to turn around to you in a couple of years when we're talking about the Harry Potter series, and I'm like, I did in the same way that we're doing for this. I'm like, I didn't know that what I needed from Harry Potter was Harry Potter meets The Sopranos. I was like, I'm on a fucking cadaver. Hey, expel your arms. You know what I mean?
What I would love for this universe is getting a sequel to the Batman. And I know this would never, ever, ever happen. But if it was just put onto Prestige TV then as well, and have Robert Pattinson's Batman be able to just show in or show up when he needs to, and just have a Gotham show. It doesn't necessarily have to be particularly on Batman, but for him to be in it as well. Because it's just this format of storytelling of 8 hours over 8 weeks just suits this universe so much.
I'd be okay with. I don't think we needed our Pats for this, and I'm
No.
glad that we didn't get him.
Yeah, me too.
But I do want the Batman trilogy. I love the Batman movie now. I'm like, this is, and I think I agree with you. I think when I watch it again after watching this now, I'm gonna just like it even more, and then I'm gonna be
Mm.
start going, oh, this is like, oh, is this up there with the Dark Knight? I don't know if it's gonna hit that high, but realistically, um, but like I want the Batman trilogy, and that seems to be what we're gonna get. But what I would like is what you're saying. I'd like these anthology series like set around the movie and like almost intercutting. It's like Star Wars, and this was actually almost better when Disney released the new sequel trilogy of Star Wars movies. There were books that were released in between the trilogies that kind of brought
Mm.
you up to the day of the next movie, you know,
Oh,
brought you
class.
from A to B, and they were much better than the actual movies, you know. And I'd love if that's what these series kind of did. You know what I
Mm.
mean? This literally took you from the day after the Batman and probably took you up to the day before the Batman 2.
Yeah.
And there's this amazing connective tissue story that then centers, because I do like the experience of getting to see a fuck off amazing Batman movie in the cinema, and I don't want to lose that. So give me both, but also have it be a world where I don't want us to be sitting there going, like, if they do the Joker series or whatever they do in the future, Penguin season 2 or the Riddler escapes prison or whatever. I don't want to be sitting there going, when did I call Batman
Yeah.
again? I'm
Or
like, I
is
want
Bruce
Batman
is
to
on
be
his
a part of
holidays or
this.
something. Like you're just trying to
Yeah.
come up with every excuse. Tell
Yeah.
you what, I'll tell you
Yeah.
what I would love in the next movie is if Penguin is in it and he's doing his mayor campaign, if Bruce Wayne has to become a bit more Bruce Wayne to get at him. Because
Ooh.
Penguin's not on the streets anymore. And that was one of the biggest criticisms because he of the Batman. He was like a shit Bruce Wayne. He was good as great as Batman, but he was fucking awful as just the billionaire playboy kind of aspect of him. And
Mm.
if he has to lean into that to get to Penguin,
I
I think
feel
that would
like
be
this
fucking
Bruce
cool.
Wayne, it's more realistic for him to do that. Do you think that they might go back to the well of, is it too predictable and has it been done too recently to go this Oz versus this world's Harvey Dent? Is that too, it feels a bit like
Mm,
you're stepping on the Dark Knight's toes a little bit. And like again, it's a bit uncreative for this world, but also if you get a really good Harvey Dent,
yeah.
oh, I don't know. Oh, I'd be into it.
Is it too early for Harvey then? Also, where was Jim Gordon this entire season as well? There was a hole in the city,
Yeah,
man.
Jim Gordon. We're standing there going, "Where the fuck is this bat signal fucking working? Jesus Christ! Fucking electronics is the flood. Jesus, he's just trying to fix the bat signal because he's like, can you not hear? Can you not hear it from the monitor? Even if I don't put this fucking light in the sky, can you not fucking hear me? Yeah, yeah, that's
It would have been
unfortunately
nice
sadly
having
true.
a Jeffrey Wright cameo. That would have been
Yeah.
nice because we got a couple of the cops.
We did get the commissioner. We did get
Yeah,
like the actual one, and it was.
he's got the weirdest fucking voice. Yeah,
Oh my god! Hey,
and
no
you're
one from
like,
The Sopranos talk like this, huh? Huh? Am I right? Huh? Let the Gabagool.
and do we have a cop as well that was in was he in the Iceberg Lounge in the movie as well?
Yeah. Well, no,
Um,
that's a politician.
oh, it was a
They're
politician.
the yeah.
Sorry,
That's where
yeah,
the politicians went to hang out. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Interesting.
There was a couple of cops in it though from the movie. I was like, oh, that's a nice
Right.
touch. They brought those dudes back as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was great.
Kev, I've
Mhm.
loved talking about this, and I get the sense it's probably not the last time this year we're going to talk about it because the next time you and I
Mm.
were just chatting before we came on air, the next time we're going to be back on the Page 180 feed is it's getting to that time of year. Although I feel like it's going to be interesting because we're going to be talking next month about our top 10 TV shows of the year, but also it's a weird year in that we're getting into cycles of TV. We're just getting out of the kind of Agatha, Only Murders in the Building, fucking the Penguin and that cycle that we're in, and then obviously we had the Dragon Boys of Summer, all of that content mega mix, and now we're getting into a new cycle. We've got Doom Prophecy coming out this week, Silo season 2. Check out Silo on Apple TV if you haven't already. It's really underrated TV show. You've got Bad Sisters is also back on Apple TV for its second season starting tomorrow. You've got Say Nothing, Cobra Kai is out as well, so there's a lot of game left. But
Let's say nothing.
Say Nothing is an Irish drama about the Republican times, about the Troubles.
Oh,
On
shit.
Disney Plus, yeah.
Get the fuck out of no way.
Yeah, all releasing on Thursday. All episodes releasing Thursday. So yeah,
Class.
looks
Check that out.
very interesting. So we've got a whole content cycle, but we're going to be breaking down the top 10, our top 10 TV shows of this. So who knows? Maybe we may have a little more to say on the Penguin. We'll let you tune in and find that out. Kev, always a pleasure to chat, and we could chat for hours upon hours upon hours. But Big Brother's starting, and it's the final week. Like
I didn't. If I'm being perfectly
This is my guilty pleasure. When I'm not watching Prestige TV, I'm switching my brain right off. Kev, anything to plug, or if you don't have anything to plug, if you just want to give a shout out to something you're enjoying or something you want to call out?
I'm not ready to plug. What have I been doing or playing? Been playing Dead Space. That was a free game last month on PlayStation. I don't know if you've played the remake of Dead Space.
No.
Check that shit. If you're into, like, if you like the Resident Evil 2 remake, this is unfucking believable. It's one of my favorite games. You'll absolutely adore it, man.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and then I've also got this book here. It just happened to be it's an air fryer cookbook. I'm not really kind of plugging it, but it's called Poppy Cooks, and
you're getting into your air fryer just in time for Christmas.
Oh, dude, I'm into my slow cooker. I made a Guinness stew over the weekend. Dude, have you ever made Guinness stew before?
No,
that shit is fucking class. Oh, dude, it's stew weather.
Domestic king over here.
It's stew weather, man.
There you go. Kev, always a pleasure. Follow Kev, and of course check out Fan Club on Spotify and wherever you get your music. They can be found. Follow him on socials if you haven't already. I'll give you the links and all in our show notes, guys. Survivor Series party coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be back over the next couple of weeks, checking in with a few low blow shorts, giving you a couple of Survivor Series preview, just because I'm a silly whore for this stuff. We got a party to promote. War Games, first ever time War Games will be aired live in Woolshed. So first time the War Games match has ever been screened live in Woolshed. So it's going to be a great night. We've got WWE karaoke back. We've got a table quiz. We got an early start. It's an 11 p.m. start for a pay-per-view. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's
but
great.
We pushed the party back to an 8 p.m. start. So you guys don't have to miss out on everything, and you get home earlier than normal as well on a Saturday night. How can you fucking beat it? Get down there, guys. It's already packed out. Only like 3 tables left, but we have plenty of general admission as well if you want to come and get your friends, and there'll be room for everyone. So that is on November 30th. Tickets on sale on eventbrite.ie now. Kev, always a pleasure to chat for you. Can't wait to catch up for the top 10 TV shows of the year. But until then, this has been page 180, and 60 years ago, 2 Sicilian brothers just all over that toe of that boot. Now I got 3 dozen Falcone brothers breathing down my fucking neck.